In a world clamoring for connection, the most meaningful messages are found in the quiet. This is The Signal, a show about the craft of writing, the journey inward, and the courage to bring your truest voice to light. I'm Terry Pappy, your host and fellow writer, and I'm here to guide you through the noise to the signal. Well, here we are at the second half of my interview with Andrea K. Stein. And in this conversation, we're going to talk about marketing, what she's done to build her business. And she gives some really, really valuable advice. She learned the hard way, believe me. She really did. And I just marvel at what she went through to get where she's at today, to have the success, to have the support, and to have the know-how on what's most important. And she's very specific about what you need to be a successful author. She also talks a lot about marketing and what's really involved there. So give this a listen and you will pick up all kinds of gems. Honestly, I probably could have talked to her for a 5-part series, if not more, because she is a font of knowledge. She really is. So enjoy my second part of the conversation with Andrea K. Stein. Welcome back, Andrea, for part 2 of our conversation. The first part was so good. You talked all about your experience coming up into the world as a writer, as a sailor, as a crazy researcher who's traveled the world basically to figure out some of these character voices and everything. And I love it. For my listener, if you did not hear part 1, please go back and listen to it. But today, what I want to talk to you about is the business of your writing. Because I will tell you this, and this is from my perspective, because you and I have known each other for a long time. I mean, you introduced me, you didn't introduce me, but you egged me on to take Chuck out, my husband, for a quote unquote support date. Which ended up turning into a wonderful marriage to one of the best guys ever. And so I thank you again for that wonderful egging on, because it's a great story. That was my first book. What I want to talk about today is my experience of how you, when you finally quit your job in Dillon and the sailing and everything, and you're like, all right, I'm going to roll up my sleeves and give this writing thing a full press and make it work. And there was so many things that, because you're a self-publisher, right? You have your own publishing company. It's given you a lot of freedom and flexibility, but it's also introduced a lot of challenges regarding the marketing, the getting the book sold and everything. There are phases to this journey that you've been on, from when you first started and how you've met people, how now you have a co-author, Louisa, that you've done 18 solo books, and you've done 16 of your total 37 with Louisa Cornell. And you touched on that real briefly in the first part of this conversation. Start by giving me the initial attitude you had about making it a full-time thing. And what were some of the things that you felt you needed to learn and that you'd like to impart on my listeners who are currently kind of maybe somewhere in that journey? So how did it really start? I mean, what was the trigger that said, okay, I've got to commit fully to this?
I went through the process. I researched that book and I never started writing it. I was still working full-time for the ski patrol. I had to show up at a job 45 minutes away through a mountain pass in all kinds of weather. And I had to be dressed and ready to go up the mountain at 7:30 in the morning for a meeting. Fortunately, my neighbor downstairs was one of the supervisors on ski patrol, and we took turns driving each other to work. I made a pact with him, and I decided, just one morning, I was sitting in my office and I had a portrait actually, of my great-grandmother on the wall behind me. I have since moved her onto a museum because she just got too snippy as time went on. But one morning, I swear, I heard her say, if you don't write that book now, when the heck are you going to write it? You're getting old. If you don't write that book, when are you going to do it? So I swear, I heard her voice. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to figure this out. So I thought, okay, if I get up at like 3 o'clock in the morning, I can get an hour of writing in before I take a shower and wash my hair and get ready to go to work. So I ended up flying by the seat of my pants, and I would, in the morning, Dave would do all the driving and turn on the heat full blast so I could dry my hair and the heater in the car on the way to work. So I got that hour in the morning, an hour. And once I did that, the universe was like, okay, she's serious. Bring in the troops. And that's how that started. And then I spent, after I finished the book, I spent, I don't know, 6 or 7 years going to the Romance Writers of America conferences and pitching my book. And what I discovered, everybody's different, but I was not writing to market. Okay? What I was writing was a cross between romance and a woman's journey, which is women's historical fiction. I was in between. And the woman who owns the Night Agency told me this. I pitched to her so often, we became friends. We'd go out to coffee at conferences because she knew and I knew she wasn't going to buy one of my books. She said, if you could just settle on one of those genres, I could sell your books. But she says you're straddling 2 genres. Okay? So I pitched for 7 years, and it was soul-sucking because those agents, some of them are really bitchy and nasty people. And I had one woman say, stop, you will never sell a book about the Civil War. And I'm like, well, what about Gone with the Wind? So anyways, but it just went on. But I met a lot of really kind editors. I had editors who would take my book. They'd ask for the whole manuscript. They wanted it. I had one woman that had it in committee with HarperCollins, and at the last minute, she got transferred to the erotica division. And there went my book. Boom. Because once the champion leaves, books have to have a champion inside publishing houses. Publishing is a cutthroat business. They're not going to publish your book unless they're going to make lots of money. And they want to know that up front. So, yeah, they don't care about the book of your heart. Trust me. They just don't. They just want to make money. So, anyways, I went through that nonsense. And then the final blow, I got some woman from another publishing company. I forget which one. She sat on my manuscript, the whole manuscript, for 2 years. Then she sent me this email that said, well, we just can't sell historical romance right now. Nobody's buying historical romance. So I sent her an email back because I felt like I have nothing to lose. And I said, do you mean 2 years ago or today you can't sell historical romance? So that was when I knew it was time to turn my back on all that craziness and pitching. It just wasn't worth all that nonsense and embarrassing myself. It's soul-sucking. And I was like, okay, I'm going to self-publish. And I was like, I had no idea what I was getting into. Okay? Business-wise. But from a business standpoint, the most important, it's like a pyramid. The bottom of your pyramid is your network, your contacts, other writers, other authors. This is the industry's dirty little secret that nobody tells you. They're nice people. They want to help you. Do not be afraid to go out, have a soda at the bar or something, and approach another author. They're sitting there by themselves. You know, they'd love to talk to somebody. They don't mind. Because they were once where you are right now. So never be afraid to talk to an author. What are they going to do? They can diss you, but they can't eat you. You know, don't worry about it. You know, so sometimes, and that one contact can lead to so many things. They may say, sure, What are you writing? Can you send me a copy? Let me take a look at it. And they'll look at it. And this has happened. I have heard of this happening. In fact, there is this bestseller right now about the first witch in Boston. I think that's what the name of it. It's being marketed as a romance. And it's about the first witch that was executed, or the first witch in Salem. Or she called it the first witch in Boston, but was part of that Salem witch hunt. Oh, runaway bestseller. She met another author at a bar, got to talking about her book. Author asked her for a copy of it. First couple chapters. She gave it to her agent. And the rest is history. This woman's a best-selling author now. She's got a 6-book deal. That's the kind of thing you got to think about. Okay? That's the bottom of the pyramid. Contacts. And don't be afraid to reach out. Okay? Join professional groups. I no longer belong to the Romance Writers of America because they imploded over some really silly things a few years ago. And they lost their vision and their way. I don't belong, but I do belong to an international group called the Regency Fiction Writers, about 1,000 members from 16 different countries, and a really good networking group, people all over the world who write the kind of stuff that I do. And I've got to know a lot of those people. That's a good thing. Professional groups, but make sure it's a good fit. I joined the North American Historical Fiction Writers Association too, because I love their conferences. Their online conferences have so much content, and they have really well-known historical fiction writers that do presentations, and their online conferences are $99. And it's a really good value to be a part of that group. So, but make sure there's value in it for you. Don't just join groups to join them, but that's a good way to make contacts, base of that pyramid. Another thing is critique groups. Find a good critique group and turn yourself over to them. I know you don't want to give your baby out to other people, but that's the only way you're going to move to the next level of your craft. And those people are good contacts too. And those contacts will stay with you for a long time. And they're always people that you can, especially when you have a bad day. And trust me, if you get into this business as a business, you will have a lot of bad days. So you need someone you can call up and, bawl on their shoulder on the phone, and they won't tell you, they won't hang up on you. So you need people like that. You really do. Other authors, because they know how soul-sucking this business can be. That's the bottom of the pyramid. And then the rest of it on the way up, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. I made a lot of mistakes. The publishing business changes daily, sometimes hourly. You have to keep up and figure it out. There's a great columnist called Jane Friedman. Check her out. Friedman. She has her finger on the pulse, the heartbeat of this business. And she does a great blog. I try to follow her. There is a Substack lady who has her own small publishing house, and it's Brooke Warner. She has a really good handle on the business too. So you got to kind of follow people like that and see just to figure out what's happening, where are we going, that kind of thing. What's AI going to do to my business? That sort of thing. And don't be afraid of technology. I use AI for everything but writing. I use it for my marketing. I use it for research because I use this AI agent out of Singapore called Manas, and it does such a better, superior job to ChatGPT, the US version. So I use that. I subscribe to it. It's pricey, but it's so worth it. And it analyzes markets for me. It analyzes my books. It'll read my book and tell me which quotes in my book put the most emotion on the page and that I should use in Facebook posts. That's the kind of work that I let my AI agent do. But never for writing or cover design or anything like that. And so you surround yourself with good contacts, part of the base, and you're going to need a good graphic designer for your covers. You need a book designer, not your 11-year-old cousin. No. You need a book designer who understands the market, who understands what the other books on your bookshelf are going to look like. If your cover doesn't look like those, ain't nobody going to buy your book. If you do your own covers, it's not going to look like those other covers, okay? You need to have someone who understands graphic design and typography do your covers. And I know it's can be expensive, but some people go out and rooster around on the internet and find all these solutions, and they end up costing as much as my very seasoned, knowledgeable designer, Kim Killian, who's done all my books since 2015, all my covers. She never charges me more than like $135 a cover, because I send all my work to her and all my graphics and get a relationship going with a good graphic designer. Don't try to do this yourself. That's because that's your brand. That's who you are, what you look like to the rest of the world. That's probably another slat at the bottom of your pyramid right there, is what you look like, how you present yourself to the world. And then advertising and social media are, as an independent publisher, which I am, I have to pick and choose what I can do. I cannot do everything. I tried that for a number of years, and I nearly had a nervous breakdown because you can't do everything. You have to decide, what am I good at? And what can I sub out? And again, the network of other authors, invaluable. I've pulled from the bottom of my pyramid, and whenever authors that you've got to know, your little network, if they're having a group project where, I don't care what it is, if we're going to do a Halloween promotion and everybody comes to your website or to your Facebook page for trick or treat and they get a free book or a free sample or whatever, join it. Just join it. Don't worry about it. If it costs $10, $20, do it. Join it. Because you get to know these other authors and you're better together. Always. Those authors, you may have 100 followers or 1,000 followers. Each of them, if there's 10 of them, they each have another 1,000 readers that are following them. Join them. You got nothing to lose. Just make sure that you guys are all writing the same kind of thing. You know, if you're writing contemporary romance, they're all writing that. Or if you like to write sweet romance, they're all sweet. If you write steamy, like I do, you make sure that they're okay with that you're in the same kind of group. You don't want somebody else's readers that don't like what you write. That's just common sense. You pull into that group, and that's how you kind of build your base. Now, at this point, you've got maybe one book, two book. You may have 100 readers, okay? The very next thing you do before you do anything else, don't worry about Facebook. Don't worry about ads. Build a newsletter base. Start getting subscribers to a newsletter. That's the most important thing you will ever do. Those are your peeps. They don't belong to Facebook. Don't belong to Amazon. They don't belong to BookBub. They don't belong to Goodreads. They're yours. And these morons in the corporate world can't take them away from you at the drop of a hat. They're yours. So that's the lesson you need to learn. Learn it early. Get yourself a newsletter, and then put a little ad in that newsletter and say, how'd you like to be on my street team? And, could you write me some reviews? And this is hard for me to understand at the beginning, but these ladies, I have, at any one moment, I probably have about 24 ladies that do this, and they love it. The only thing they want is a free book. And that's what they get when they do reviews. And you know what? If they don't review the book, then they don't get it. They get dropped from the list. And the reason I can do this and stay on top of it is one of the things I learned from someone that I met in one of these group events was that she had an ad agency. And this agency provided you with someone who could do ads for you and on Amazon, and someone who would be your assistant. And there's nothing better on this planet for someone who's a self-publisher than an assistant. You need an assistant, someone who understands the business, not your 10-year-old cousin, okay? Someone who understands the romance business or historical fiction business, whatever you're writing. I found her through this ad agency. The ad agency was a really bad idea because they knew less about ads than I do. Which was, I lost like $4,000 or $5,000 before I was like, whoa. No, I'm not doing that. I'll pay you for Pam, but I'm not doing that. So then all of a sudden Pam disappeared. And fortunately I had her email and I said, what's up? She said, well, I'm no longer with the agency. And I said, please, can I go with you? I begged, I groveled. She let me into her stable of authors that she represents. And this has been, oh my gosh, I've been with Pam for 8 years, I think now. She is the best investment I make every month, is paying her for, I don't pay her a lot, 5 to 10 hours a month. But man, does she work. And she gives me a printout at the end of every month about what she's done, how long she spent doing it. She organizes my newsletter for me. She set up a way to communicate in something called Trello, which if you guys look it up, if you're going to have an assistant, you need a way to communicate because Pam lives in Massachusetts. We've been doing this for a long time, and it's a great way to communicate. It's very visual, and it's got timestamps and everything, so each of you can communicate. It's kind of like a glorified email with visuals that you can both track. That was like 3 levels up on my pyramid, was when I met Pam and decided she and I needed to be together. We've been through some stuff, 2 of us. And she represents some of the biggest bestsellers in the business. Some of her clients are like New York Times bestsellers. And you know what? When they want to do a box set and they need extra authors, guess who they invite? So this connection has brought me so much more exposure, connections. And so after a long time of trial and error, I tried Amazon ads, I tried Facebook ads. I lost lots of money, okay, doing that. So I started doing some free classes with a gentleman called Brian Cohen. And he looks like an elf. He looks like, he's redheaded, he's kind of short, and he looks like, the Lucky Charms guy. But he is the author whisperer. He's been in this business for so long. He's an author. And he has this group. And if you just Google his Brian Cohen, Cohen, you can find out what he offers. And he gives free classes all year long. You sign up for him, and then at the end of the class, he gives you so much information. And then if he's got paid classes that you can opt into if you want at the end of the free class. But honestly, the free classes just give you so much information about how to deal with Facebook, how to deal with Amazon, all kinds of things. And I've learned so much from that man. I've done a master class with him where he uses Signal Chat, and it's like he's in your ear all day long. You can ask him anything. I once was really frustrated. His thing is, he's kind of a Zen guy about how to manage your personal time and what you need as a writer. And he's like, if you're frustrated by you can't do everything with social media and promotion, he said, just sit down, make a list of all the possible things you could be doing and which one makes you feel the happiest when you're doing it. And he says, just do that one. And he says, you're going to come across to the readers as much more genuine because you're happy doing it. That's going to come across to them. And he said, forget about the rest. He says, if that's all you have time for, do that. And I once asked him this question. I said, because he said, you really need to do more than one newsletter a month. And I'm like, well, I'm afraid that my subscribers are going to be upset. And this is what he's sent me right back. He's like, if your subscribers are upset by an extra newsletter, they're not buying your books. And it's like, the light bulb went on. Huh. See, I'm giving all this stuff away to these readers. And if they're not buying my books, it's like, do I really need them? Yeah. Yeah. So that's the kind of, he's like a little Zen elf in your ear. And so I have committed this year to getting carpal tunnel surgery on both my hands, because I have been writing for over 60 years as of this year. And my hands were finally gave up. They just like claws. So I'm getting my hands taken care of. And so I also committed to doing a personal coaching package with his group. You get one-on-one coaches who take you through everything that you're doing wrong, things that you need to fix. And it's hard work, because all these years of stuff I have been doing. First thing, your product pages. Look at your product pages. That takes a lot of upkeep. I just throw these books out, throw up something that makes sense to me in a blurb, and then when I look at it objectively as a reader, it's like, what the heck is this book about? You know? So they're guiding me through that. So I'm redoing the blurbs for all my books. And there's all kinds of other things they're taking me through. The way you do ads for Amazon has nothing to do with common sense or reality. The Amazon algorithms have no place in reality. And so if you try to figure them out on your own, you're going to waste a lot of money and time. And so get some help, get some good help. But there's a lot of people who claim they know how to do this. But be careful. If you decide to go with someone who's going to do a class or whatever, and you can't have too much training, I will say that. That's good. I'm constantly doing classes on marketing myself as much as possible. But if you decide to commit like real money to coaching or classes, get some recommendations from people who've done it. Just make sure you're not going out on a limb and wasting your money on people who really don't understand the industry, because Amazon's algorithms are not for the faint of heart. So that's all I'm going to say about that. And
let me tell you what, I gotta stop you, because we could go on for another 2 hours on this stuff.
I know.
You are just such a treasure trove of information, and I knew that. Why do you think I wanted to make this 2 parts, right? But what I love everything you've shared, and it just, I'm sitting here just going, I'm amazed at what you've been able to accomplish for your business and what you've done. Not just the writing part. I mean, having 37 books out there ready for people to consume. It's incredible, the volume of work you've done. And by the way, for my listener, I'm going to have all of Andrea's links on the show notes page, so don't worry. All those good things that she mentioned, I will make sure that they're in there. Definitely sign up for her newsletter, even if you are not doing the same genre, because you will be able to learn so much. You're one of those people that anybody could reach out to you and you'll be like, how can I help? Right. And that's because that's how people have been
always
with you. And I love that.
Yeah. All authors are like this. And so many authors have helped me. I mean, I have authors you would not believe. New York Times bestselling authors have just Marie Force was so kind to me. I can't believe all the help she gave me. That woman is amazing. Talk about a powerhouse. But no, she's very kind.
Well, that's a really good It's so funny because I think that writers, I would imagine, and I'm an author too, so I want to be kind of a little covet my work. But when you think about, like when I run my writers group, these other writers that are in there with me, I mean, I look at them as like my family because we've created such a space with one another. So I can totally get that. But you have to have the understanding of it's a give and take. Regardless of who the person is, you'll know right away if there's someone that you can help them and they can help you. That's probably one of the best nuggets of your advice. So as we just kind of wrap up, as much as I don't want to, wrap up this conversation, because this particular part was more about the business of it, how you kind of built your business, some of the things that you're having to lean on as far as getting support and the things that you love, and wonderful little nuggets of wisdom. You've been very honest about how hard this is and how you're going to have days where you're going to need to cry on someone's shoulder and you're going to want to, do some crazy stuff and just give it all up. But here at the end of the day, that book is already, or those books are already done in your head, just getting them out, being that conduit and trusting the universe when you've really committed. That's my favorite part of your overall message. But what are some of the little nuggets that you can just leave with my listener and to give them the encouragement to trust their voice, to discover their voice, and to really just follow their passion as far as what they want to write and the stories they want to tell?
Mm-hmm. Trusting your voice is the most important part. And this is with writing or with marketing. And this is something Brian says a lot, is everybody wishes there were a magic button we could all push, okay? But there is no one button. Everybody's path is different. And that's something that's hard to accept as an author. And you go out at first and you think, well, if I do what this author does, then I'm going to have that kind of success. No, your work is totally different from theirs, even if you're in the same genre. So your path is different. You have to trust that and never, ever compare yourself to other writers or authors, even friends that you have that may get lucky and be successful and get an agent or whatever. Don't think that your friends or people you know who may be traditionally published that, oh, they have it made. No, if you go as a first-time author with a publisher, New York publisher, you are chopped liver, okay? And you're going to do all your own marketing anyway. They're not going to do your marketing for you. That's another dirty secret of the publishing industry. They just churn new authors. Always trust your own gut. No matter what kind of situation you're in, if someone says, you know what, you shouldn't be writing romance, you should get over into nonfiction because I think you could sell better there. No, trust your gut. You are the captain of your ship. Don't let someone else, just because you perceive them at a higher level than you, that you think, well, they must know something. Nah, just trust your own gut. That's it.
That is it. That is it. And it's so true. And I can't thank you enough for just sharing your story, sharing all this wonderful advice. It's kind of made me go, well, maybe I'm not on the right path here.
There's no right path. No, there is. We all have our own paths. And so anyone who wants to reach out, you can put my email address, my website address, everything's there. If you want to reach out to me, I'd be happy to give you some advice for what it's worth if it's free.
Well, at the very minimum, it's going to be a good conversation because that's what we've had today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and talking about writing and your life as a writer. Thanks, Andrea.
Well, thank you for the invitation. I've enjoyed it. Thanks.